Our breaking news, a political shocker just moments ago. Former Ontario Progressive Conservative leader Patrick Brown has entered the race for the party's leadership. This latest development comes on the same day Brown was removed from the PC caucus. On January 25th, Brown resigned as the leader of the Ontario PCs after a CTV News report aired detailing allegations of sexual misconduct by two young women. Brown denies the allegations and says he plans on suing CTV. And this is CTV's statement. CTV News stands by our reporting and will actively defend against any legal action. We welcome the opportunity to defend our journalism in court. Brown also claims he never saw a draft of the letter confirming his resignation as the head of the Ontario Progressive Conservatives before it was sent out. And he is certainly entering a crowded leadership race, the same one organized to replace him. There are four others who are already vying for his old job. In fact, they already held, as we just mentioned, their first leadership debate yesterday. Brown now the fifth person in the race. The next and final leadership debate, which will now include Patrick Brown, is set for February 28th in Ottawa, and a new leader will be announced on March 10th. Ontarians go to the polls in what's shaping up to be an election like no other on June 7th. For more on this, let's bring in somebody who's been keeping his eagle eye on Queen's Park. The Toronto Star's Robert Benzie joins us from Toronto. Wow, incredible images. There was rumors that this might happen. It has now happened in one of the most dramatic press conferences, I think, in Canadian political history. What does this do to the race?
Well, it does throw a bomb into the middle of this crowded race, Mercedes, because they were kind of humming along nicely, I guess. They had their first leadership debate yesterday. They're trying to put Patrick Brown behind them, this party. I mean, it's very embarrassing to the party what had happened. He stepped down a couple hours after CTV broadcast that story on January 24th. He stepped down, and then it emerged this week that some of his folks were saying that no, he actually didn't step down until the Star this morning broadcast. We broadcast audio from the conference call where he admitted he was resigning. So it's absolute chaos in the Conservative Party, and we have a provincial election in Ontario on June 7th. So they don't have a ton of time. Today was the deadline. The deadline just passed about 5 minutes ago to enter the PC leadership race. So now there are those five candidates in there. They decide on March the 10th, and then the election is June 7th. This is a very narrow timeline for a party that is trying to beat the Liberals, who have been in power since 2015. Sorry, 15 years, 2003.
You mentioned that audio clip, and I want to play it for our viewers. First, this comes on the heels of confusion over claims by some about whether Patrick Brown actually resigned as the PC party leader. CTV News has now obtained that same audio of Brown's tense conference call with caucus, in which he says he asked his director of communications to prepare a statement announcing his resignation. The audio of that call was recorded by an unnamed Progressive Conservative MPP.
Despite the fact that this is character assassination, these are false allegations, I don't want any of us to be set back on our mission to defeat Kathleen Wynne. I would never want to be an obstacle to defeating this government, and I've asked Rebecca to prepare a statement that I will resign, and I've asked her to figure out at what point tomorrow that is best, and she has drafted a statement while you guys were on the call.
Robert, people are saying that contradicted it. Vic Fideli made the decision to kick him out of caucus at that point. He's now back in the race. Does he have the support to pull this off and actually win?
No. I never make predictions, Mercedes, but I got to tell you, it is really far-fetched. The caucus kicked him out about an hour, 2 hours after the Star.com posted that audio this morning, and he had said in a Global TV interview earlier this week that he didn't know who put out this resignation. So he wasn't even getting his story straight on who resigned or if he had resigned. And it's kind of weird because his whole defense about the allegations that CTV broadcast is all about, well, the women's stories contradict, some other key facts in his view, whether he lived on had a second floor bedroom or first floor bedroom, things like that, whether a woman was 18 or 19. It's very odd to me that that's his defense against CTV and his accusers, and then he can't get his story straight on whether he resigned on January 24th. He did resign. And now he's back.
Well, and he's already sending out campaign emails. I've seen one of them trying to get people to sign up for the party. What is his motivation here? Is this purely about saving his political career? Why put himself out there like this? Why risk dividing the race and potentially distracting people when there's an election coming up?
Well, he says it's not about him, but I think this is about clearing his name. And look, he is entitled to try to clear his name. He claims those allegations are not true, and he wants to clear his name, and he feels blindsided. But I have to tell you, his crisis management the night that he resigned, on the 24th, he came out about 10 minutes before CTV broadcast the Glenn McGregor story. It was terrible. He looked like he'd been hit by a truck. So it almost looked like he wasn't ready to lead, if you know what I mean. If someone had been accused of something and they knew to be false, you would have thought they would have had more confidence in their statements that night. And he just looked totally flummoxed and rattled. And of course, his 3 top aides had quit a few minutes earlier, so perhaps he was understandably rattled. But if the people around you resign because they don't believe you after seeing what CTV was going to broadcast, maybe you should take a good look in the mirror.
And then take a look, for those of you at home, at this ballot. This is from the official Elections Ontario website. It shows Patrick Brown's name on the ballot. Robert, last question. What comes next in this race? I know it's dangerous to prognosticate on that at the best of times in politics, much less with everything that's gone on today, but what can we expect?
Well, I mean, I don't think Mr. Brown can win this race, but he can cause someone else to win the race, and you know, people are saying that his entering hurts Caroline Mulroney. A lot of people who were with Patrick Brown had moved to Caroline Mulroney after Brown resigned, or it could hurt Christine Elliott, because some of his people are now with Christine Elliott. So you could see Doug Ford, who doesn't really have any Patrick Brown people around him, he could actually come up the middle and win this race. And I know for a fact that Premier Kathleen Wynne's Liberals want to face Doug Ford on June 7th. They would feel very confident running against Mr. Ford.
Yeah, and you know, certainly he's made very public allegations that he believes that these were politically motivated, basically issues that came out, and allegations that somehow his political enemies are behind this, that there's some kind of a conspiracy. Well, we will certainly keep an eye on it. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Mercedes. Take care.